Hola, mis amigos. I'm in Mexico City in this beautiful Airbnb that I just could not pass up the opportunity to film a video for you. This video is special. It is probably one of the longest ones on this channel. It's more advanced practice. I know a lot of you have emailed asking for more intermediate or advanced practices, so here you are. And it's a little bit different. We do some poses that we normally reserve for the end of class, in the middle of class. It's going to shake things up. The reason for that is because the Lord's been really drawing me to this passage, the story of him feeding the 5,000. I'm going to read to you a few sections from Matthew chapter 14, but you can find it in a couple of other Gospels. But in Matthew chapter 14, we'll start in verse, 14. He went ashore, Jesus did, and saw a great crowd. He had compassion on them, and he had healed their sick. And now when it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a desolate place, and the day is now over. Send the crowds away to go into the villages and buy food for themselves." But Jesus said, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "We only have 5 loaves here and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass, and taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and said a blessing. Then he broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied, and they took up 12 baskets full of the broken pieces left over. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, not including the women and the children. So this is a story that I've grown up hearing my whole life. And often when we talk about the story, we talk about Jesus and we talk about the disciples. But the Holy Spirit pointed out a third character in the story to me that I never really considered, and that is the crowd. Now, you can tell by the disciples' response to Jesus, them encouraging Jesus to send the people away to go eat, that it wasn't common for people to come hear a popular rabbi speak and also expect to be fed. Right? Sort of like how we think about church. We go to church, we sing some songs, we hear a message, we say hi to some people, and then we go home. We don't go to church expecting a haircut or always a giant feast. Same with the crowd here. They came to hear a popular rabbi teach about something spiritual, and then they would go and have their physical needs met somewhere else. But Jesus totally challenges that idea of who he is and what he's here to do. When the disciples tell Jesus, send them away to get food, he says, "No, you feed them." And they're totally flabbergasted, like, we can't do that. Like, we don't have enough food for these people. Like, what are you talking about, Jesus? And so what I love about the story and what the Holy Spirit's been speaking to me is about how quick we are to put God in a box. Jesus, you came to talk about matters of the heart, to give us our ticket to heaven, and that's it. And that's sort of the box we put him in, right? Maybe it's the Sunday morning church box. I go to church to experience God, and then Monday through Saturday I'm just sort of floating along on my own, and maybe I pick up a Bible and get a little inspired, but maybe not. I'm sort of floating on my own throughout the week. But what Jesus does in this story is challenge their idea of what he has to offer them. He doesn't just care about their hearts or their morality, but he cares about their physical needs as well. He wants to show them miracles and the power and the beauty of his presence, not just in the matters of their heart, but in all areas of their lives. And so my heart for this practice is, as we step on our mats, that we would be challenged in the small boxes that we put God in, and that we wouldn't just expect him to speak to us spiritually, but that we would expect him to move in miraculous ways, to care about, to feed and resource and provide for all areas of our life. I think he's really longing to do that, if only we would be present for that. Instead of leaving and going away to have our needs met somewhere else, choosing to remain and trust that he will show up in even bigger ways than we'd imagine. So that's what we're going to focus on as we practice today. Take this practice at your own intensity, your own speed, your own depth, but I hope it challenges and encourages you. So let's jump in and do some yoga. Let's begin our practice standing at the front of our mats. Now when you get there, take a moment to really ground down through all 4 corners of your feet. So rock side to side, forward and back. Lift your toes up. See if you can really find those 4 corners. And then lay your toes back down on the mat. Ground down through your feet. And feel the sense of strength and energy drawing up from the ground. Feel your kneecaps lift slightly as your thighs engage. Feel your tailbone lengthen down towards your heels just slightly. It doesn't have to be exaggerated, but just enough so that you feel that slight engagement in your core. Find a little bit more space in between each rib. And then relax your shoulders down your back. Imagine your fingers had little weights on them, pulling them down towards the earth as the top of your head reaches up towards the ceiling and your chin draws in slightly. Big, full breaths here. Isaiah 55, verses 8 and 9. Say, my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. Holy Spirit, we invite you to move and speak, to convict and remind, to draw near in these next few minutes that we practice yoga. We surrender our thoughts, we surrender our ways, we surrender our plans about who you are, what yoga should be, what life with you should look like. God, we just surrender all of it, and we ask to be led moment by you. We trust you. We trust your ways. We trust your thoughts. They are good. They are holy. And in these next few minutes, God, we just draw near to your heart. We want you more than we want right plans or easy answers or crystal clear understanding. We just want you, God. So we submit this time to you. We ask that you be glorified in it. And it's in Jesus' name we ask all of this. Amen. Start to roll your shoulders up to your ears and down your back. And this doesn't have to be an isolated movement in your shoulders. If it feels good to move your body as you do this, you can. You can start to roll your neck side to side, forward and back. Just starting to investigate how you're feeling as you step on your mat today. Investigating how tense or sore you might be. And inviting some softness in, just in this simple movement of shoulder and neck rolls. And bring your head back to the center, relax your shoulders down, and on your next inhale, reach your arms overhead. Take a big breath in here, reach them up to the ceiling, and as you breathe out, start to bend back just slightly, taking care not to collapse in your low back, but lift up out of your hips. Good, come back to the center, release your arms down to the side. Again, breathe in, arms lift up overhead. And this time as you breathe out, reach them back behind you, interlace fingers at your low back, knuckles reach down towards the floor, collarbones open wide, big breath in here. And then as you breathe out, keep your hands interlaced and just start to fold forwards. Good, letting your head and your neck relax here. Good, release your fingers down to the mat. Step your feet back to a plank position. Again, find a sense of grounding here. Grounding down through your hands. Heels stacked directly over the balls of your feet. Tailbone keeps reaching for those heels. Low belly drawn in. And then lower down onto your knees. Start to take some body circles, rolling through your wrists and your hips. Maybe your shoulders and your neck get involved here. Continuing this investigation. Letting go of any preconceived notion of what this practice should look like or how you should feel, and instead just receiving whatever it is that the Lord has for you in this moment. Switch up the direction of your circles if you haven't yet. Explore making them smaller or bigger, more wild or more restrained. And then return to the center. Shoulders stacked over wrists and hips over knees. Take a big breath in, open up for cow pose. And as you exhale, round your spine, draw it in for cat pose. And again, inhale for cow, shoulders back. Exhale, heart presses up to the ceiling for cat. One more time, inhale forward for cow. Exhale, cat. Good. Round your hips all the way back to your heels, child's pose. Take a big breath in here. Fill up the back of your body with breath. And then as you breathe out, feel your chest sink closer to the mat and your shoulders soften. and your forehead connect with the mat. Good. Start to walk your fingers over to the right side of the mat and draw your hips over to the left side, maybe making this C shape with your body, feeling a nice deep stretch on the whole left side of your body. And crawl your fingers back to the center and all the way over to the left side, drawing your hips over to the right side, taking this C shape the other direction. Sending your breath into that right side body. And then returning to the center. Rise up onto your hands and knees. Breathe and lift your right arm up to the ceiling. And as you breathe out, thread your right arm underneath your left, threading the needle on this right side. You can roll up onto your right upper arm, onto your right shoulder. Continuing to breathe into the spaces that feel tight and hard. Inviting the Lord to invade and breathe into the parts of our body that we may close off from Him, that we may think don't belong, when really God has something to say. Come back up to the center, place your right hand back onto the mat, and stretch your left arm up to the ceiling. Big breath in, and then as you exhale, thread it underneath your right arm, rolling over onto that left shoulder or left upper arm for a nice deep stretch here. Good. Return to the center, hands and knees. Spread fingers nice and wide here. Really ground down through your palms. And imagine your fingers have little suction cups on the end, grounding down into your mat. Tuck your toes. Hover your knees slightly off the mat. Take a breath in here. Drop strength through your core. And then start pressing your hips back until your arms are straight. And then one at a time, start exploring straightening those legs for a downward dog. Your legs should not be stick straight here. Take a moment to bend them, to move through your hips, continuing to investigate how your body's feeling. Good. Take a big breath in, roll forward to plank position. Good. Lower halfway down for chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your feet slightly forward so that your feet can be fully planted on the mat. You may step them a little bit wider here too. Good. And then with your left hand, start to reach back, grab a hold of your right ankle, and twist your heart over to the right side, looking underneath that right armpit. Continuing to ground down through your heels so your thighs are strong and engaged. That's it. Return back to the downward dog and then switch sides. Right hand is going to grab a hold of left ankle, twisting over to the left side. Allow your neck to be soft here. Now return to downward dog. Walk your feet all the way forward so you're hanging in a forward fold. Again, softness through the knees, softness through the shoulders and the head. Good. Start to bend your left knee, straighten your right leg, and twist over to the right side. Similar movement we just did in that downward dog shape. Good. You can extend your right arm up to the ceiling or just rest it on your low back. And then let's switch sides. Straighten that left leg, bend into your right knee. Left arm can reach up to the ceiling or rest on your hips. Big breaths into the outside of that straightened leg. Good. Release back down to your forward fold. On your next breath in, lift halfway up. We're going to stay here for a couple of breaths. So really draw your shoulders back, draw low belly in so your back is flat. You could rest a glass of water on it and it wouldn't spill forwards or backwards or right or left. Draw your chin in. The top of your head is reaching forwards. Good. One more breath in here. As you breathe out, release it back down. Ground down through your feet. Inhale, stand all the way up. Arms reach up overhead. And exhale, bring them together at your heart. Inhale, stretch your arms overhead again. And as you breathe out, lower your left hand down, reach your right arm up, and then over to the left side for a nice side stretch here. If you like, you can step that right foot behind your left to take it just a little bit deeper. Again, finding any kind of movement that feels good, perhaps stillness, or perhaps a small roll forwards or back. On your next inhale, rise back up to the center and take that right hand down. Reach your left arm up to the ceiling now. Find length first. And then as you breathe out, find some depth as you bend over to the right side. Good, and return back to the center. Stretch both arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers here and place them right at the base of your skull. Elbows are wide. Draw up through your hands so your neck finds some length. And then start to press the back of your head into your hands as you open your heart forwards. Elbows again stay wide. Big breath in here. Good, and exhale, release your hands down to your sides. Start to draw your weight back into your heels, sink your hips down, find chair pose. Bring your elbows out in front of you, 90 degrees. And let's cross right elbow underneath left elbow for eagle arms, either pressing back of hands together or your palms together. As your arms are twisted here, lean into this twist. So press your arms into each other as you reach your hips back. Elbows are going to reach forward slightly. Heart reaches out to meet them. Good, breathe in here. As you breathe out, untwist your arms, stand all the way up. Arms reach overhead, big inhale. Exhale, arms release back down to your sides. Good, let's do this on the other side. So breathe in, arms lift up. Exhale, sit back to chair pose. Elbows come out in front of you. This time, opposite twist, left under right. Good. Breathe and lift those elbows a little higher. And as you breathe out, shoulders soften down, hips reach back a little bit more. Find one more big inhale. And as you exhale, untwist, stand all the way up. Arms reach overhead. As you exhale, dive forwards to your forward fold. Good. Grab a hold of your elbows here and just sway softly from side to side. All right, we're going to mix things up a little bit here and do a pose that we normally add in at the end of class right now. So my one suggestion to you would be to take it more gently than you normally would because we're a little less warmed up. But I think it's good to shake things up every now and then. So hands on the mat, step your left leg back. Crawl your right foot over to your left wrist for pigeon pose. Good. Start to crawl that left foot back a little bit deeper so your hips can descend, taking care not to roll over onto the right side, but keep your hips nice and even here. And again, this may be less deep than you're used to, and that's okay. Let the Lord speak to you in that. You can stay here, just finding nice, slow, deep breaths. Or if you'd like to take this into a twist, start to crawl your fingers over to the left side so that your right upper arm starts to connect with the sole of your right foot. You can bring your hands into a prayer posture here or just keep them resting on the mat. Continuing to find neutrality in your hips and just twisting in your thoracic spine, so the upper half of your spine. Okay, if you're twisting this direction, let's take just a gentle counter twist. So start to crawl your fingers over to the right side of your mat. Good, twisting gently in the opposite direction. Good, and then slowly return to the center. Start to crawl your fingers towards your shins so that your spine is nice and long. From here, we're going to side plank. So plant your left hand down on the mat. And as you start to draw that right knee out and back, extend your right leg, stack it on top of your left leg. Both feet are flexed, legs are really strong here, and your hips are reaching up, up, up towards the ceiling. That right hand can reach up to the sky, or it can reach over your ear, continuing to lift through your ribs to find some length. Good. From here, let's go to Wildthing. So start to lift that right foot off your left leg and step it just behind you, pressing your hips up to the ceiling so that right knee is bent, that left foot is planted, left leg is straight, and that right arm reaches over and back as you press your heart up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. Can you lift that left hip a little bit higher? That's it. One more big breath in here. As you breathe out, start to flip back towards the mat. Plant your right hand down and let's step that right foot forwards in between your hands so you're in a low lunge. Good. Left hand plants down on the mat. Big breath in, twist open to the right side for this twisted lunge. Good. Untwist. Inhale, stand all the way up. High lunge. Good. Fingers reach up to the ceiling as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, extend your left arm forward, right arm back, twisting over to the right side. Again, keeping both hips pointing towards the front of your mat. Good. Return to the center. Warrior two. Right arm forward. Plant that left foot firmly on the mat. Nice deep bend into that right knee. Good. Close your eyes here and take a big breath in. Side out your mouth as you settle deep into your warrior two. Your ways are higher, God. Your thoughts are higher, God. Flip your right hand, reach it up and back to reverse your warrior. Good. And then as you come back to the center, find side angle. Right forearm rests on your right thigh, or that right hand can plant onto the mat as you extend your left arm up to the ceiling and then overhead, stretching through that left side body. Good. Come back to warrior two. Flip your front palm again, reverse your warrior, and start to straighten that right leg as you do. Good. All right. We're going to find warrior three towards the back of our mat. So start to pivot onto the back, your left foot and onto the ball of your right foot. Hands can come to your hips. Straighten that left leg and start to float your right leg off the mat. Good. So you're in a warrior three facing the back of your mat. Really keep that right hip and that left hip even. So don't let that right hip pop up. Flex through that right foot nice and strong. Good. Big breath in here. Reach your heart forward. And then as you breathe out, fingers find the mat. Step your right leg behind your left leg and fold forwards. Let your head and your neck relax here. Good. And soften into the stretch. From here, we're going to find Gomukhasana, which is the Sanskrit name for the pose that's translated as cow face pose, which is just a fabulous name for a pose, if you ask me. So to get there, find your fingers on the mat and start to step your feet. Keep them crossed, but step them wider, and bend your knees so that you can sit your hips down with your left leg crossed over your right leg. It's almost like a pretzel shape that we're making. Good. Over time, your knees might stack one on top of the other here. But what I'm really concerned with right now is both hip points grounding down evenly into the mat. Good. Once again, bring your elbows out in front of you and then reach them up to the ceiling. Big breath in. Bend your left elbow, grab a hold of it, and draw it behind your ear. Stay here or swing your right arm back behind you. Crawl your right fingers up the middle of your back. Maybe your fingers make contact. You can stay here and breathe into the stretch. Or if you'd like to take it farther, you can start to fold forwards. Embracing whatever discomfort you feel. Obviously, if it's painful, back up. But if it just feels a little uncomfortable, can you surrender and soften? Good. You can release your arms if you have your arms in a stretch, and just bring your fingers to the mat and enjoy the stretch in your hips. All right, from here, we're going to untwist our legs to face the front. So how this is going to work is plant your hands on the mat. Slowly start to lift your hips off the mat and then untwist so that you're facing the front of your mat. Your feet are going to be a little bit wider than your mat. Good. And when you get there, just enjoy this slightly wider leg forward fold. From here, you have a few options. You can hang here in a forward fold, or you can take headstand. If you're going to take headstand, lower down onto your knees, interlace your fingers, and then place the top of your head right in this basket that you've made with your hands. And we're not going to workshop headstand here, so this is really for those of you who have headstand as part of your practice already. And if you'd like to explore headstand, you can press pause on this video and explore it in your own time against the wall. If you are working headstand here, really make sure to press down through your forearms by drawing your shoulder blades down and back and together. That's going to take the weight out of your neck and into your shoulder girdle, which is a much stronger set of musculature and bones that's going to support you more than just the few little bones you have in your neck there. All right, if you're in headstand, slowly start to make your way back down. And we'll all meet in a downward facing dog. From downward dog, take a flow of your choice. That can be rolling forwards to plank, chaturanga, and upward dog. It could be lowering down onto your belly and finding cobra, or it could just be hanging out in downward dog or child's pose. It is those who know most of God, says St. John of the Cross, who understand most clearly the infinite reaches of his being, which remain uncomprehended by us. Here, as in every approach to reality or to holiness or to beauty, it is those who see much, not those who see little, who realize how much remains unseen. Basically, what this author, Evelyn Underhill, is saying is that the more that we come to know of God, the more we realize how little of him we know, how the mystery of him grows larger and larger, and how that just captivates our heart. She goes on to say that this is why the theologian always has plenty to say about God, whilst the contemplative can hardly say anything at all. Real prayer must ever be an entering into ignorance, a timid upward gaze towards the splendor which baffles the mind while it satisfies the heart. When we come before God in this movement of worship, we don't have to have a lot of words. We don't have to have a lot of theological understanding. We simply just need to be captivated in awe by the holiness of God, who put on flesh, who came to earth, who walked among us, and who constantly tried to expand our understanding of who God is, who was always about breaking apart the boxes that we had put God in, the rules that we had surrounded him with, the God does this and does not do this understanding. Instead, always saying, I have more to offer. I care about more than just your eternal salvation. I want intimacy and relationship with you here and now in all things, in all areas. And let's just let that truth about God baffle the mind and satisfy the heart. All right, step forward to forward folds. Lift halfway up, big breath in, shoulders back. Exhale, release down to the mat. Breathe in, root down through your feet. Stand all the way up, arms overhead. And exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, dive forwards. Fingers to the mat. Step your right foot back. And crawl your left foot over to the right side, lowering down onto pigeon here on the left side. Again, taking it a bit more gently, easing your way into it. If you like to take the twist on the side, start to crawl your fingers over to the right side, perhaps making contact between your left upper arm and the sole of your left foot. Continuing your big, smooth, soft, easy breaths. And let's take this twist over to the left side for a gentle counter twist. And then slowly coming back up to the center. Really ground your right hand down into the mat as you start to stretch that left leg out and long behind you for side plank on this right side. Left arm can reach up to the ceiling, can rest on your hips, or it can reach overhead. But wherever you are, flex your feet like you were pressing them into a wall and lift up through your hips. Good. From here, we're going to Wildthing. So start to lift that left foot up off your right foot. Plant it down next to you as you start to straighten that right leg even more, planting your right foot into the mat, lifting up through both right and left hips as you stretch your left arm overhead. Big, full, heart-opening surrender to the Lord. One more breath in here. Good. And then slowly start to return to the center, placing your left hand on the mat. And let's step that left foot forward in between your hands. Right hand plants down, left arm twists up for a twisted lunge. Good. Can you lift up through that right thigh? Good. And then return your left hand down to the mat. Inhale, stand up for your high lunge. Good. And as you exhale, twist over to the left side. So right arm forward, left arm reaches back. Maybe your gaze starts to track behind that left shoulder. On your next exhale, untwist back to the center and find warrior two to the right side. So plant down through that right foot. Bend into your left knee. Hips open to the long edge of your mat. Shoulders are soft. Good. Imagine one strong line of energy reaching from your right hand through your left fingertips. Flip your left hand, reach it up and back to reverse. And then as you return to the center, find your side angle, really grounding down through the outside edge of that right foot. Good. Return to the center. Once again, reverse your warrior. And as you do, straighten that left leg. Really find some more length in your left side body. Good. From here, we're going to warrior three, facing the back of our mat. So you can bring your hands to your hips, start to pivot onto the ball of that right foot, and start to float your left foot off the mat. Really draw strength through that right leg as you ground that left hip down towards the mat and flex that left foot. Any arm variation that's calling to you on the side. Good. Take one more breath in. And then as you breathe out, place your left leg down behind your right leg and fold forwards. Let your shoulders soften down. Let your jaw relax. Good. From here, we're going to Gomukhasana on this side. So fingertips find the mat. Start to heel toe your feet a little bit wider so that you can bend your knees and sit your hips down. Seeing if perhaps you can stack knee on top of knee here, keeping your feet flexed just to help protect that knee joint. Good. Stretch both arms up overhead. Bend your right elbow and gently drop back behind your head with your left fingers. You can stay here, or you can swing that left arm behind your back, crawling it up the middle, perhaps making contact with your right fingertips. Root down through your hips, rise up through the crown of your head. Breathe in. Stay here. As you breathe out, start to fold forwards, keeping your hands bound like this. That's it. You can release your fingers now. Just enjoying the stretch in your hips. Letting your heart be drawn deeper into this sense of awe. All right, we're going to untwist back to the front of our mat now. So fingertips on the mat. Start to lift your hips up, press into your feet, and untwist them so that you're in this semi-wide-legged forward fold facing the front of your mat. And again, I'm going to offer headstand here. If headstand is in your practice and you would like to take it, lower down onto your knees. Interlace fingers, really draw shoulder blades down your back, and use your core strength to lift your legs up rather than momentum from kicking or using your head as support. And if headstand's not in your practice or you're just not feeling it today, enjoy this forward fold. using this chance to ask the Holy Spirit to search your heart, to show you any walls that you've put up, any boxes you've tried to put around God, or just any understandings of Him that have just gotten comfortable or old. And God's saying, honey, I want to break out of that. I want to show you how much more than you can think or imagine that I am. If you're in headstand, start to lower your feet down now. And we'll all meet in a downward facing dog, choosing to flow here if that feels good, or choosing downward dog or child's pose for 5 long, full, luscious breaths. Thank you, God. We ask for more, and we say thank you. Make the hard places soft. Make the cloudy places clear. All right. From downward facing dog, step your feet forward for forward fold. Ground down through your feet and stand all the way up. Big breath in, arms reach overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart. Start to draw your weight into your left leg and come up onto the ball of your right foot. And let's find tree pose on this right side. So you can use your hands to place your right foot anywhere along your left leg except for that sensitive knee joint. So you can just rest heel to ankle. You can bring that right foot onto your right calf, or you can press it into your left inner thigh. Any arm variation. Perhaps even a smile. Good. Keeping that left foot planted firmly into the mat, release your right leg and draw your right knee into your chest. With your left hand, grab a hold of the outside of that right leg and place your right hand on your hip. Draw strength up through that left foot. Find length here rather than a curling forward. And then start to twist that right shoulder open, looking over to the right side. Now you can choose to start to straighten that right leg here, but if you notice your low back rounding, draw up. What's more important is finding length from the heel of that left foot to the top of your head and opening that right shoulder slightly rather than any kind of fancy extended leg here. Good. Slowly untwist back to the center. Release your right foot back behind you. Point your toes at about 45 degrees. Good. And then start to bend into that left knee for warrior one. Arms reach up overhead. Big breath in. Good. As you breathe out, open up warrior two. Straighten that left knee. Arms reach up overhead. Big breath in. And as you breathe out, triangle pose. So left fingers reach forward and down as your right hand reaches up. Really tucking that left hip underneath that right hip and pressing down through the outside of that right foot. Good. Take your right hand, reach it overhead. Good. Press up through those right side ribs. Good. Now bring your right hand to your hips. Place your left fingertips on the mat just a few inches in front of those left toes. Start to bend into that left knee and lift your right leg off the floor for Halfmoon Pose. Start to straighten that left leg so that foot is left and straight and strong. And flex through your right foot to help you balance here. Good. Right arm can reach up to the ceiling. Maybe it reaches overhead. Big full breath in here. Good. And then as you breathe out, lower your right hand down to the mat. Send your right foot out to the left side behind your left knee. Bend deep into both knees. Good. And then come back up to the center. Extend your right leg back behind you. Lower your right knee down to the mat. Hook your thumbs here in this low lunge. Big breath in. Reach your fingers up to the ceiling. And then reach your heart forward in between your armpits for this crescent lunge. Good. Breathe and lift up. And as you breathe out, reach back. One more time, inhale, find some length, lifting out of your low back. And then as you exhale, fingertips reach back. Good. Return to the center, fingertips find the mat. Start to lift your right foot up towards your right heel. Your right foot up towards your right hip, Right hand's going to plant on the mat. Left hand is going to reach back and grab a hold of that foot, gently drawing it closer towards your hips. Really roll that left shoulder open. Sink down into your hips a little bit more. Good. Release the stretch. Place your left hand back down on the mat. Tuck your right toe, lift your right knee up. And we're going to find a down dog split with your left leg extended. Good. Can you lift up that left leg a little bit more, but instead of lifting from your heel, can you lift from your left thigh? That's it. Good. Draw your left knee forward in towards your nose, and then extend it back up behind you. Draw your left knee towards your left shoulder. Good. And then stretch it back behind you. Now let's draw that left knee over towards your right elbow. Hold it here, and then kick that left leg out so that it's straight underneath your body here. Spin your right heel down and start to stretch your right arm up for fallen triangle. Just like we did in Wildthing, can you lift up through both hip points here? Good, really grounding down through both edges of your feet, right and left side. Good. Return your right hand down. Draw that left leg back behind you for your down dog split. And then roll forward to a three-legged plank. Lower halfway down. Put your left toes on the mat. Inhale, upward facing dog, shoulders back. And exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Shake it out here. Heels, hips, knees. And then return to a sense of stillness. Letting your heels descend. Shoulders drawing down your back. Big, full breath in. Sigh out your mouth. Let it go. Good. Take a look at your hands and step your feet forward so you're in a forward fold. Ground down through your feet and inhale, stand all the way up. Arms reach overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart. Let's draw our weight now into our right foot. Draw your left heel up to rest on your right ankle and enjoy tree pose right here. Or take it to a different variation, crawling that right foot up so that it rests somewhere on that right leg, but that right leg is pressing just as strongly into that left foot so that you find a sense of evenness on both sides. Set your gaze and use the focus of your gaze to find stillness in the rest of your body. Good. Slowly release your tree and draw that left knee up into your chest. Grab a hold of the outside of that left foot with your right hand and bring your left hand to your hip. Both hips evenly point forward. Ground down through all four corners of that right foot. Shoulders stacked right on top of those hips. And then start to twist over to the left side. Maybe as you go, starting to straighten that left leg. Keep pressing through that left foot to help you find a sense of balance. Good. Slowly untwist back to the center and step that left foot back, 45-degree angle. Find your warrior one. Bend into your right knee, stretch your arms up overhead. Once again, shoulders stacked right on top of those hips. Good. On your next exhale, open up to warrior two. Good. Flip your front palm, reach it up and back as you straighten that right knee. And then come back to the center and stretch your right arm forward and down for triangle on this left side. Pressing down through that back left foot. Left hand reaches up to the ceiling or overhead. Big breath in. Good. And as you breathe out, bring that left hand to your hips, right fingertips a few inches in front of those right toes. Start to bend into that right knee and float that left foot off the mat and find your Halfmoon Pose on this right side. Stacking hip on top of hip. Beautiful. Any arm variation that's calling to you here. One more breath in. As you breathe out, return your left fingertips to the mat. Kick that left foot behind your right foot. Bend deeply into both knees. Good. And then bring it back to the center and step it left foot back behind you. Lower your left knee down to the mat. Hook your thumbs the opposite direction. Big full inhale as you reach those fingers up to the ceiling. And as you breathe out, start to descend into your right knee a little bit more as you open the top of your spine back. So the low spine stays long, but from right about your bra line and up, bending backwards, those fingertips leading the way. One more round of inhale and deep exhale. Good, and lower your fingertips down to the mat. Start to reach that left heel towards your left hip. Left hand grounds down into the mat, and that right hand's gonna reach back. Grab a hold of that left foot, and enjoy this nice deep stretch into your left quadricep and your left hip flexor. Continuing to roll that right shoulder open and breathing deeply. That's it. Release your grasp on that foot. Right hand's gonna plant down on the mat. Tuck your left toes, lift your left knee, and extend back into a downward dog with your right leg lifted. Good. One long, strong line of energy from that right heel all the way through to both fingertips. Take your right knee, curl it into your chest, knee to nose, round your spine, and then stretch it back behind you. Right knee is going to hug into your right shoulder. Good. And then stretch it back behind you. And now right knee is going to hug underneath your body, trying to tap left elbow. Hold it here, and then start to straighten that right leg, planting firmly down through the outside of that right edge. Left heel spins down to the mat as your left arm lifts up. Good. Fallen triangle on this side. Both hips lift up as you press down through your feet. Big breath in. Big breath out, left hand returns to the mat, right leg stretches up and back again. Inhale, roll forward to a three-legged plank. Exhale, lower halfway down. Return both toes to the mat. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Big breath in. Big breath out, lower your knees, child's pose. Soften through your shoulders. Relax through your hips. Good. Come forward to your hands and knees, and then lower all the way down onto your belly. Good. Turn your head over to the right side. Stretch your arms out alongside of you with your palms facing up towards the ceiling. And just take a moment here to feel your breath in your body, pressing down into the mat. Feel the tops of your feet on the floor. Feel your hip points pressing down. Give thanks for this body and the incredible things it can do. All right, bring your forehead down to the center of your mat now. On your next breath in, start to lift the top of your hands up, the tops of your feet up. Roll your shoulders up and back and find Locust Pose. Instead of sticking your chin way out in front of you, can you draw your chin in slightly so the back of your neck is nice and long and smooth? One more breath in. And then as you breathe out, lower down, head turns to the left side. And just notice a sensation here. Let's do this again. Bring your forehead back to the mat. As you breathe in, lift up. Strength through your core, but rather than clenching your butt muscles, can you soften and lift up from your inner thighs? One more breath in. Exhale, release down, looking over to the left. We're going to take this one more time. You have the option of taking Locust or Bow Pose.
So let's bring your forehead back to the center of the mat. And if you'd like to take bow, start to reach your heels towards your hips, and your hands are going to reach back and grab the tops of your feet. Good. Start to press your feet into the hands, and as you breathe in, lift up. Knees lift off the mat. Shoulders draw back. Shoulder blades squeeze together, and knees reach in towards the midline. One more breath in. Exhale, release, lower it all down. Turn your head the opposite direction. Big, full breaths in and out. Beautiful. Let's flip over onto our backs. Good. And when you get there, just place the soles of your feet on the mat, feeling your low back ground down. Now we're going to head into shoulder stand. If this isn't in your practice or it feels like too intense of an inversion, you're welcome to just extend your legs straight up to the ceiling. If you'd like to take shoulder stand, draw your knees into your chest, roll your hips off the mat, and press your hands into your low back. Weight is pressing into the tops of your arms. And imagine someone's pulling on your toes to lift your legs higher. So rather than being a mid-back stand, can you really make it a shoulder stand by using your core strength to lengthen your legs up? Crawl your hands down your back. Good. Chin stays slightly lifted to help protect your neck. You're welcome to take this into Plow Pose by lengthening your feet all the way down to the floor behind your head. Arms extend down to the mat. Very good. Nice and slowly, using your hands as brakes, start to return down to the mat one vertebrae at a time. You can bring your hands to your hips to help facilitate this process. Keep it nice and slow and gentle. Good. Feet return to the mat. Place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Close your eyes and just notice the sensation. That's it. Let's close our practice with one gentle spinal twist. So when you're ready, you can draw your knees in towards your chest. Curl your forehead up to your knees. Make a ball shape. And then hug your right knee and extend your left leg down to the mat. And take the twist over to the left. Right arm out. Gaze goes over your right shoulder. Invite softness. Invite presence. And then slowly come back up to the center. One last time, knees draw in. And hug that left knee in. Cross it over to the right side. Enjoy lying under God's long and loving gaze. Another way to say this is, behold the one beholding you and smiling. Return to the center. Extend your legs out in front of you and your arms out to the side. Resting under his long and loving gaze. Resting in his character as being a God who always provides for every one of our needs. We love you, God. We thank you. All of this is yours. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for practicing with me today, friend, and I look forward to meeting you back on your mat again soon.